What's up, everybody? Hope everyone has had a great midway working through the week going into Friday so far. Hope everyone's doing well. I'm here with Canecast, Kevin from Canecast. Thank you so much for joining me, man. It is a pleasure to have you on.
Appreciate
Kevin,
you having me.
anytime, man. Introduce yourself to anyone watching right now, anyone who does know you or may not know you. Go for
Yeah,
it.
so Canes Nation, I go by Canecast Kev. I have a podcast called the Canecast Podcast. I know, real original. I'm the co-host of the podcast. I actually do it with Kyle Highnote. He is the host of the podcast. You can follow me on Twitter. I like to, chat it up with a bunch of Canes fans on Twitter. My handle is Smith31Kev. Or you can just type in Canecast Kev. It's my little name that I put for my Twitter handle. Yeah, love to chat it up with Canes Nation, and I'm excited to talk to you about a little bit of Canes, especially what we got going on with the coronavirus. It's nice to talk sports for once.
Absolutely, Kevin, man. It really is a pleasure to have you on, man. But let's talk about the coronavirus real quick. Obviously, spring is canceled. Okay. What is there going to be college football this year, man? What's your opinion on that matter moving forward?
First of all, I want to point out that, of course, spring would be canceled the moment we actually have a very exciting quarterback and a new offensive coordinator, stuff that we want to finally see, right? Of course, it's canceled now. I do think there's going to be a college football season. Now, is it going to start on time? Who knows? The way it really comes down to is, the players have to be physically fit to start the season. So a lot of people say oh, well, just as long as everything is good by July. Unfortunately, they do come back for June and they do off-season workouts and they do conditioning. There's more that goes into just, football than practice. So they do have to come back and be conditioned. They don't want to put players in the wrong position to get hurt. Different things happening like that. I do think everything's going to start according to plan. Now, one thing I don't know is if there's going to be fans in the stadium. That's something that I don't know. But if I were to give my guess right now, I would say football starts on time.
Okay. All right. I hope
cautiously
so.
Optimistic.
Right. I really do hope so. I think money is always a factor. And the one thing, March Madness was a huge amount of money, but I think it was happening right away. Where football, we have so much time to move it back where we can play with dates.
Exactly. And if you think about it too, the NFL is going on at the same time, but there's always that little lag. You got the beginning of the new NBA season, which who knows if that's going to start on time too, because if they push NBA back to do the playoffs and everything, who knows if that's going to be pushed back as well. You do have a little bit of that space before then baseball starts again. And, so they may be able to push it back a month or two or, whatever they need to do. I do think the football season is going to start in general. It's too much money revenue for the schools. If you were to ask me 100%, I 100% think NFL will start on time. Big money business. But I do think college football will have a season regardless of if it's on time or not.
Absolutely. And Kevin, how much is canceling spring going to affect Miami specifically, or perhaps, other teams as well? We have Rhett Lashlee, new offense. A lot of people say it's more simple. That's what players said. Will Mallory can learn the playbook in 15 minutes. But it's a new offense, new recruits coming in. We have no strength and conditioning program at all with Coach Feely out of the picture. So how much is this going to affect Miami?
Unfortunately, it really sucks. It really does. Like I said at the beginning of the show, of course, we would finally have an explosive offense that we want to instill, a new game-changing quarterback, and of course, this would happen. The only thing that is kind of makes you feel better as a fan is, everyone's going through the same problems. Obviously, we may not have the same issues as an Ohio State because they're built differently. We may not have the talent of some of these top schools, and we have to be more conditionally sound, more sound as far as knowing our assignments, stuff like that. Of course, it's going to have a major impact. Would I say huge impact? I don't know, but I think it depends on when we can get back to school. It really just depends on the timeline of this thing. If we're able to get a whole summer of conditioning in, and then all of the fall practices, like you said, Rhett Lashley's system's pretty easy to understand. I think they'll be able to get the players up to speed by the start of the season.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially give us, a month or 2 months. I think we'll be good to go. Now,
but like I said, who knows? We'll see what happens.
Absolutely. You never know. You never know. Exactly. Now, teams that are going to be most affected, I mean, I can tell you off the bat, Mel Tucker from Michigan State, new head coach. Mike Norvell down at Florida State.
We have the joy of getting to play in Florida State as well. So, you could always be in those situations where they're just doing a complete turnover of coaching staff. You imagine being in those people's positions. That's rough. We're just trying to instill an offense. At least we have the defense coming back. That's something that's nice. Second year in Blake Baker's system. That's always nice. But yeah, we get the joy, like you said, we get the joy of playing those two teams, which are going to be behind the 8 ball for sure.
And Kevin, let's talk about, this off season. Now, I remember last off season. I mean, everybody was hyped over the Dan Enos offense. Everyone was excited, even for the starting quarterback battle. We thought Tate Martell was going to win the Heisman Trophy. At least I did. A lot of people thought Jaron Williams was going to be the second coming of Jim Kelly, Gino Torretta, Bernie Kosar. Next great line of quarterbacks coming in. What's different this offseason compared to last offseason?
So, Paul, I was with you there. I mean, if anyone who's watching the show follows me on Twitter or listens to our podcast, they know I was and still kind of am, unfortunately, a Tate fan. I loved Tate's, film, and we all watched the same 3 games on YouTube: the Tulane, the Rutgers, where he's slinging the ball over the place, but they're up by 50 points. Kind of like, we don't care about the score. He looks great. He's going against 4th-stringers that are 1-stars, 2-stars in high school. We were overlooking that stuff. It's completely different. And I kind of went back and thought about this, and I tweeted about this a couple months ago when, things were starting to drop about the off-season acquisitions. And I started to think about, man, we all were kind of jumping the gun and a little bit ridiculous to be excited about last off-season, because I'll throw some comparisons out. You got Dan Enos. He hadn't been an offensive coordinator since 2015. And his last year that he was offensive coordinator at Arkansas, he had a terrible offense. The only year he had a really good offense for Arkansas was because he had a bunch of seniors and he had a bunch of hogs on the offensive line. So he was able to run the offense he wanted to run. Martell had never started a game before in college football. We were all going strictly off of hype, strictly off of high school accolades, his reputation. So it really all was a mirage. The whole we're stealing Danny Enos from Nick Saban, which the more I think about it, was that true? Because what we saw last year, who would want that? I'm sorry.
Right.
I get that they have the hogs at Alabama to kind of maybe run the system, but maybe we were all kind of reading too much into that situation and all the rumors and everything. And then you fast forward to this year. Rhett Lashley has done it. He's done it as early as last year. He had a top 10 offense. What type of system he runs, which is a fast pace, that UCF type of offense. That I'm actually a UCF grad. I've been watching their games for a long time, and they run that fast pace offense that they get to the line in 10 seconds and they snap the ball. The guy's falling on the ground like we saw with FIU, falling on the ground and trying to fake an injury because you're just so fast. And we've seen it. Eric King, 2 years ago, 50 touchdowns. I don't care if the AAC, if it's the Big Ten, if it's the SEC, that's impressive. The guy has proven it on the field, and both people, Lashley and King, have proven it on the field, and that's what makes this offseason different. It's been proven. It's in the pudding.
Right. Absolutely. No, I think you make a great point. We're getting Rhett Lashley. He was a part of SMU's offense that was number 7 in the nation in total offense. Okay. For the longest time, I always wanted Miami to have an offense where their quarterback has 50 passing attempts, where their running back rushes the ball for 30 times. It's going to go no huddle. It's going to go up tempo. Like you said, we're going to play fast. And Miami has the athletes to play fast. They're
It's
used
going to
to
be
playing
fun.
fast.
It's going to be very fun. And I think a lot of Canes fans don't really understand what they're about to get into. And then a lot of people will say, oh, well, we heard the same thing about Danny Nuss. No, it's proven. Go watch SMU's offense last year, the year before. That is the system he runs. That is what he runs. It's going to be a shock to Canes Nation when they watch the first game. They're going to be like, what am I watching? I've never watched this before. And we've talked about it we've talked about it for a long time. It's like we've been so behind on college football on doing this. We're like one of the last schools to pick up more of a fast-paced energy on offense. And it's awesome. It's exciting.
Absolutely. And plus, De'Ara King, man. I mean, it is the it factor. I know you mentioned just Tate Martell coming in, but man, this guy's a dark horse, a legitimate dark horse for the Heisman. I mean, he can just take off and run at any moment, and he flies. Outstanding job. And look what Rhett Lashley did with Shane Buechele, a reject of Texas, who Sam Ellinger basically took his job and then turned Shane Buechele into a star.
And Shane Buechele is not half the quarterback De'Ara King is.
Right,
and
absolutely.
And De'Ara King allows more of that running element. Shane Buechele wasn't really a running quarterback. He could run if he wanted to, kind of like how we were to look at like Tyler Van Dyke. In his future, he can run, but I wouldn't consider him a runner. But he adds an extra element, and it's going to be fun to watch. I'm telling you.
And Kevin, regarding this offense, do you think now, like Manny Diaz's defense, for example, like first year it was good, then it was great, then it got better in a certain extent. Are we going to see an instant impact with Rhett Lashley's offense, or is it going to take time for players to, get used to the system, get the right recruits in to play to that system?
Yeah, and I mean, this is where losing the spring does hurt. Because I mean, regardless of how awesome of a coach Lashley is, regardless of everything that's happened, De'Ara King, everything, when you're completely changing a system, there's going to be hiccups. There's going to be times where people are out of position. Especially players that 3-4 years in playing at UM aren't used to running this type of system. You could say that, but then you can also say this allows them to run free. It allows them to play more of a flowing game, to play like you played when you played at Southridge, when you played at Miami Palmetto, when you played at Northwestern. You got to realize when these kids are at high school, that's the types of offense they run. The problem is when you throw them in a Dan Enos slow offense, it slows them down. They're not allowed to use their true abilities to work in their favor. And you're slowing kids down that have 4.5 speed. Like, why would you do that? So I don't think it's going to be a Manny Diaz where the second year is great. First year was pretty good. I think you'll see an instant impact because the talent is there. And I've always thought the talent is there. The talent has always been hampered by, and that's a good point, by John Fields. I see it on my screen. Is he was Auburn's OC in 2013 when they went to the national championship game. People don't remember that either, where he had a terrible quarterback, first of all, that could barely throw the ball. He was more of a running quarterback.
Nick Marshall?
Yeah. De'Ara King is 10 times the quarterback Nick Marshall was. I think you're going to see an instant impact, because the talent is there. The talent has just been mismanaged and not allowed to really do what they do best, and that is run fast, take advantage of slow guys on the other side of the field. You got to realize, and I've been like bashing my head in thinking like you got teams like Pittsburgh. You got teams like, even
UNC, I would say.
Boston College, Wake Forest. These guys don't have speed to go up against.
I know
80% of the college football landscape. You finally put these kids in a system where they're allowed to you go one versus one against the guy across from you. It's like 7-on-7 in high school. You got the speed to beat 95% of the guys in college football. It's going to be a drastic change.
And, regarding this offense, I know last year our plague was offensive line. Let's be real. Worst offensive line unit in the nation. We gave up 9 sacks to Florida. We gave up another 9 sacks to Duke. I mean, we were just god-awful.
Rough.
Not to mention, I don't think Dan Enos's offense was the best counterpart towards our offensive line. I think that was more for Wisconsin, if anything.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see the jump from our offensive line? Coach Garen Justice, looking at his resume, it's not the best looking resume. If you put me with a blind mask over my head, I think Butch Berry has a much better resume, but he didn't get the job done. So do you think Garen Justice can get the job done? I know it's very early, so no answer is a wrong answer, but do you see just development?
So do I think the offensive line is just good as it is? The pieces we have, no, I don't. I don't think the talent is there. I think the recruiting, I've always said, why the hell do you ever recruit offensive linemen in Florida? Like, why? Like, go to the Midwest and pick out some big uglies in Iowa and Wisconsin and, the Northwest. Like, my point is these guys that are 4 stars that are offensive linemen in Florida, especially with what we were running, like you said, pro style offense, they're not good for like that. They're not good for that. They're smaller build. They're not meant to really hold a line for a long period of time. So do I think the talent is there to be an excellent offensive line? No. But like you said, Lashley's offense, I believe, will help them to the degree to make them a good offensive line. It'll hide a lot of those deficiencies of talent. And, it's going to be an up-tempo offense. It's going to be something to where they're going to allow those smaller offensive linemen that they have to really benefit in their favor. Now, some may say Mr. Donaldson may have to lose a couple pounds to be able to run this type of offense, but I do think the guys are there to be able to run this system. I think you're going to see noticeable improvements just because of that aspect in general. They're not going to have to hold blocks as long. It's going to be kind of just a quick up to the line, boom, pass out, boom, running ball, boom. Like, you're not going to have to – it's not slow developing plays.
Right.
And I do think Garen Justice is a very good hire. It was actually one of my favorite hires that they had made in the last couple of years. Manny Diaz has made. And like you said, Butch Berry, he has a better resume. He worked in the NFL. But Garen Justice, he's worked in this offense before, in this type of offense. So that's why I like the hire. It's more geared towards what we're doing. And that's what you need to do. And Miami has always struggled with what's our identity as a team. You wouldn't hire to an identity. You wouldn't get players to an identity. Look at a team that you brought them up, like Wisconsin. Wisconsin's been running the same thing for 20 years. They get big offensive linemen. They get a stud running back. They get an average quarterback. They win 10, 11 games a year. Miami hasn't had an identity since 01, 02. They really haven't. They haven't had an identity. And so now Manny Diaz is hiring to make an identity. He wants it to be a fast up-tempo. He wants to use speed to his advantage. And I think Garen Justice can be perfect for that because he coached at FAU with Lane Kiffin. So he's ready to kind of instill that type of offense in his offensive linemen.
Yeah, and that's a good point you made because you're looking back at Miami's identity in 2001, 2002, 2003. Our offense didn't win games. It was the defense, and then our offense just took care of business.
It was the defense, and they always ran the ball to set up the pass. That's how we did. Yeah. We had guys like Willis McGahee, Clinton Portis, Najee Davenport. You ran the ball, and you didn't put a lot of pressure on Ken Dorsey, who was maybe not the most talented guy in the world, but he was smart. He used his players to his advantage, which was like an NFL team pretty much. So you ran the ball first, and you allowed Ken Dorsey to make plays around. So that's our identity. We don't have that.
And I think, to be fair, too, I think that was an identity of college football in the past. I think modern day, I think it's more just run and gun football, kind of what Oklahoma has, get a high power offense. You're not going to see the Alabama type offense. It's going to be successful everywhere. LSU, what they did this year with Joe Brady as their OC, I mean, that
astronomical. It was insane what they did. And I had a talk with my host. My host had a talk on Twitter today about, what would you say if the 01 Hurricanes went up against the 19 LSU? It'd be an interesting game because Miami wasn't really set up, that team at least. They put up a ton of points, but like you said, a lot of it was based off their defense. Defense created turnovers. Offense wasn't really geared to just like you said, run and shoot, just score a bunch of points. It would have been interesting. See, obviously, completely different eras. Things were different. You can't really. It's hard to compare, but that offense was just insane.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely, no. What Joe Brady did, he's going to be a future head coach one day, no doubt about it.
Oh, I agree.
And he went to Everglades High School in Broward County, so it's crazy how so many
Where are you
great.
from, by the way?
I'm from Coral Gables, Florida.
Okay.
I went to middle school to freshman year. I went to Westminster Christian, which is around your corner because you went to Palmetto.
That's funny. Yeah, I went to Palmetto. Yeah.
And then I went to Ronald Reagan Senior High School in Doral, Florida.
Yeah, so I know exactly where those. We used to play them in baseball every once in a while.
Right. Yeah.
Funny.
So,
small world, huh?
I know, right? Miami is a small world after 23 years of living there.
There you go.
But let's Kevin, talking about the offense, I specifically think your offensive line sets up the offense, but you need a leader at the quarterback position, which is something Miami hasn't really had in the past per se. Like guys like Ja'Cory Harris, we saw flashes of great play. Stephen Morris, I thought he was injured the whole time. Brad Kaya was a sitting duck in the pocket. Great passer, but a sitting duck. Can't even who's our Jaron Williams, and then the one before that. I'm like, it's been that bad. Perry, and then
Malik Rozier.
Yeah, Malik Rozier, who I think, in my opinion, that 2017 team was the worst undefeated team in the nation for so long.
I have an interesting opinion on the 17 team. If you want me to give it real quick, I think I tweeted this the other day. I think if Brad Kaya was our quarterback in 17, I think you beat Pittsburgh. You go undefeated.
Right, absolutely.
And I think you actually have a better chance of beating Clemson. People don't realize that defense was like an all-world type of defense, and the amount of turnovers they created, the amount of havoc that they created. And they kept us afloat, and they really did. And they compensated for a lot of Malik Rozier's inaccuracies. And you go back and watch these games, and I've been doing it because there's obviously nothing else to watch. And I go back and watch the Notre Dame game. We won by 33 points. I go back and watch the Virginia Tech game. We won by 18 points. You would think that Malik had all-world games. And you go back and watch those games, and he's still missing wide-open receivers. He's missing guys that are open. He's missing reads. And if you think about it, it was opportunistic defense that put them in positions to win.
Yeah, absolutely.
You put that as a quarterback, and I do think a guy like Brad Kaya didn't get enough credit at Miami because he had so many different coaches. He had so many different offensive schemes. He just, it was one of those things where he didn't have a chance. I think if he was put in a system that worked to his advantage, I think he would have done even greater things because he broke records, obviously. But I think that 17 team had a classic defense at Miami. Unfortunately, they were coupled with poor inaccuracies at quarterback, a very mediocre offensive line, and then they had injuries. Amon Richards got hurt, Herndon got hurt, and it just kind of snowballed from there. But sorry, if you were leading into a question, sorry to.
No worries at all. Before I get to that question, Taz Haitian Canes, thank you so much for the $10 donation. He's always on my live chat, always watching my videos, always donating to the channel. So I greatly appreciate it, man. Thank you so much, Taz Haitian Canes, for your contribution to my channel. It means the world to me. All right. So where I was getting to was De'Aaron King. Should we get into the hype train of De'Aaron King? Should we go all in, or are we overhyping De'Aaron King?
Go all in, baby, because it's here, and you've been struggling. Like we've been talking, and I know someone commented too, and I saw it on the video that Stephen Morris I do think was a good quarterback. Another guy hampered by poor coaching, injuries, but for how long? 19 years, 18 years, Miami has lacked a leader at quarterback and a guy that will command respect. and a guy that will, when you walk out on that field, and right after that coin toss, you walk out on that field, that guy is your quarterback. That guy's going to lead you to victory. And that's what Derek King is. And that's the thing that Miami's been lacking for years. And it's finally here. We thought we had in St. Martell. Once again, it was all a mirage. We don't really know what we had in him because he didn't really play much. But Derek King is proof in the pudding. 50 touchdowns, 36 passing touchdowns, 14 rushing touchdowns. That's absurd. I don't care where you're playing. I don't care if it's Sun Belt. I don't care if it's freaking Division II. That is impressive. And, he played last year. He played against Oklahoma at Oklahoma. He's played in big games before. He played against Washington State last year. He's played Power 5 teams. So a lot of people say, oh, well, how can we believe the hype? He hasn't played in a big league. I can tell you guys, the AAC last year and 2 years ago is better than the ACC. Sorry to drop some knowledge on you guys, but those teams are good. All right, the UCF would probably win the Coastal the last couple years, and that's sad to say because we have 10 times the talent that they have, but they would win the Coastal, and that's the bottom line. And SMU last year was good. Memphis for the last 2 years. Memphis 40 plus points against Penn State in a bowl game. That team has that conference has talent. So if you're going to sit here and tell me, oh, he's not going to do great things because he played in the AAC, you need to stare at yourself in the mirror and realize the ACC isn't much better, if not better, than the AAC.
Right.
So my thing is he's here. He is committed. It's his last year. He's going at it hard. He's here to win, or else he wouldn't have come here. He had a bunch of opportunities. You don't think LSU would have took a run at him? You don't think all these other schools? I get we had the best positioning because he had to make a decision quick. So he came and visited us, and he liked it, and he kind of decided on us before he could really visit anywhere else. But he had options. So if you don't think he's here to win, then you don't know what you're talking about, because he's here and he's here to win. I think you should get hyped.
Oh no, absolutely, and I think his running ability is going to help us out a lot of times. His playmaking ability, on the run when the pocket breaks down, that's going to be the difference maker. And Jaron Williams, man, I thought he wasn't a bad runner, but he was very tentative. It's like he didn't want to run. He just wanted to stay in the pocket and you get rid of the football.
Jaron Williams, I struggle with, because I think the kid has all the talent in the world. It's just not here. It's not here, and unfortunately, we've seen it years and years and years with different quarterbacks, where it's just they have the talent, but they're missing something. And Jaron just, he didn't have his head on straight. It was one of those things where, you wish it could have worked out because he showed flashes. Man, like that 6 touchdown game against Louisville, at FSU, I was at that game. When I was watching that game, I remember turning to my father and being like, yeah, we got a quarterback. This is our future quarterback. And after Louisville, it just kind of like something happened to where, I don't know if he got complacent and he thought like, hey, I've won 6 games. Now I can just kind of like ride it out and just ride out these last couple games. It was a different.
Yeah, we saw it was like very inconsistent, because was it against Virginia Tech? It was 3 drives in a row of an interception.
I think he was hurt there. That was the only thing. I do think he was hurt and he was dealing with an injury. But I think it was preparation. That FIU game. I was at Riptide Music Festival with a buddy, and I decided to miss the concert. One of the biggest, it was like the headliner of the whole concert, because I was like, I want to watch the FIU game, Miami game, because it was on TV at one of the bars. One of the worst decisions I ever made, missing that live concert, the headliner. I forgot who it was. I think it was the Killers. And I was just watching that, like, just dumbfounded at what is going on? He's not reading linebackers coming across in coverage. He just seemed like he wasn't prepared. And then you get all the reports that are coming out later on about how players are skipping curfew and they're going out and partying, and it's all making sense now, because you win that game against Louisville, you blow them out by 30 points. They probably think, oh, we have FIU and Duke left. We'll run through that easy because we're the Hurricanes. And that's been the mantra for years, is Hurricanes think they could just step on the field and beat anyone. That's not how that works anymore. Anyone can beat anyone in any given day. You have to be prepared.
And Kevin, we spoke about the quarterback position a little bit just now. What position group worries you moving forward that right now during the season that's going to hurt us?
So, I mean, if I'm going to pick two position groups, actually. I'm going to pick one on offense.
Do one offense, one defense. Sorry about that.
So I'll actually make it a tie on the offensive side of the ball between the wide receivers and the offensive line. More the wide receivers, actually. And the reason I believe that is because I still need to see it. The receivers, all these receivers that came out of high school, this Mark Pope, 5-star, T. Wiggins, high 3-star, Mike Harley's a 4-star. We know what we got in Mike Harley, but, Jeremiah Payton, stud coming out of high school. You have all these what we call star whores. All these people out there like, I want the 5 stars and the 4 stars. Well, we got the 5 stars and the 4 stars at receiver. It's time to start showing what you got. That's what we have here is, and I've been going back and forth with my host for the longest time because I believe the receivers have talent. He doesn't. Yeah. He thinks they don't have talent. I think they have talent. I think it's, again, a scheme thing. But it worries me because we don't know. It's uncertain. They haven't proven anything. We don't really have a proven guy. We don't have an Amon Richards. Even this year we had KJ Osborne. He was reliable. We don't have that guy this year. We don't have a veteran. We have a veteran in Mike Harley, but has he really shown us a lot? He's just that guy. He's a cheaper Braxton Berrios. I love the guy. He works hard, but that's just, it is what it is. And we have to see it. It has to be shown, and that's the thing. It's not more worry; it's just more uncertainty. I don't really know. And then the offensive line too, they worry me because, like I said, I don't think the talent is there. But that worry subsides a little bit because I know that the scheme is going to be in place. It's going to help them. So the receivers definitely worry me a lot more than the offensive line. But the offensive line is definitely something we have to keep an eye on because it's been something that's hampered us the last couple of years.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Now, the defensive side of the ball, I think the defensive side of the ball is pretty short up. It really is. The safeties are short up now. You got Gervin Hall, Bubba Bolden's going to be coming back. Those are 2 studs. Your corners are pretty short up. You got Ivy on one side, you got Blades on the other, and then you'll get thanks 904 Hurricane for agreeing with me on the receivers. But you got, and then you got the young guy, Couch. He's going to be the new slot corner. I think you're pretty short up there. The linebackers is what worries me a little bit. And, worry is a strong word for that because I'm not really worried. But if I were to pick a spot on the defense to kind of keep an eye on, it's the linebackers. You got Zach McCloud coming back. He's going to really anchor that. He's going to take on that Shaq Quarterman, role of being the leader. And then you got guys like Avery Huff, Sam Brooks, who I think is a stud. I think Sam Brooks is a stud. I think he showed that in the bowl game. He made a lot of plays. He's got a lot of speed. I think that's something we've been lacking. But it's just a lot of immaturity. You don't really know. It's kind of how we felt, 4 years ago when Shaq, Pinckney, and McLeod were all freshmen. It's like we know these guys have ability, but we need to see it. So, worry is a strong word, but, just kind of cautious to see what happens. But I do think the defensive line is going to be absurd. Oh, yeah. So I think the defensive line will help the young linebackers a lot kind of get into that role. So I think that'll definitely help them out.
Okay, so you got off on the offensive line, wide receivers, defense, linebackers.
Yes.
All right. Before I give my take, Howard Smooth with the $5 donation. Thank you so much. Love what you do, my guy. Keep up the great work between you and Wholesome One Holloway. Yes, that is how you spell his last name. I greatly appreciate it, man. I couldn't do it without you guys. So with all your support, man, it means the world to for me and I think all of us. And even you have your own podcast, but your fans really do motivate us. So
yeah, really no, for sure. We do it for everyone that listens or watches. I mean, there would be no reason to do it if no one watched. Let's be serious.
Absolutely. And man, for me, position group that does worry me, offensive line depth absolutely does. But man, I'm telling you, wide receiver core, it's a big question mark. I don't know who's going to step up. Mark Pope was this 5-star recruit out of Miami Southridge Senior High School. Yes, our offense did not cater to their skill set. Mike Harley's second decision was West Virginia, which is a Dana Holgorsen offense. I think he would have done very well at West Virginia under Dana Holgorsen's offense. So we have a lot of freshmen coming in who, I mean, Keyshawn Smith, he looks really fast, looks good in practice, but he still hasn't played a game yet. Xavier Restrepo, we still haven't seen him played in college yet. So it's a big question mark. We have talent there. The talent is there. It matches up.
100%.
You go by stars, it's probably one of the best in the ACC, star-wise. So even offensive line, there's Delonte Skate, John Campbell, Cleveland Reed.
4 stars all over the line. I mean,
Bart Milo was a 4-star, and he didn't even play.
That guy was a bust.
Yeah, that was bad. That was really bad. Our offensive line evaluations: Bar Milo, Tommy Kennedy, Zach Dykstra, three scholarships that did not
waste.
Complete. I don't want to say waste, but yeah, it was. They didn't play.
And I think you're going to ask me about the freshmen coming up, and I think I got a guy for you that I do think will anchor the receivers. That is a freshman. So I know you were going to ask me that question. If you want to fast forward to that question, we can.
Who do you think wide receiver, that freshman you're talking about?
So I'm not going to go true freshman. I'm going to go redshirt freshman.
Okay.
Because in my mind they're still freshmen because they haven't really played much of the game. They're very fresh. So I'm going to go Jeremiah Holloway is going to be that guy. And
you got confused with the Georgia recruit that almost came here.
Jeremiah Payton. All right.
He almost came here, Holloway. He actually schooled us.
Jeremiah Payton. All right, there we go. Jeremiah Payton's going to be that guy. And, he's the type of guy that I think Manny understood that too. I think he wanted to get him a year, to kind of build his body up, get him prepared to be that guy. He has that body frame. He reminds me a lot of Amon Richards. I do think he's going to be that guy that's going to just pop this year. I think he's going to anchor that position group. And I think you're going to see a lot of guys really start to fall. All these older guys, like you said, Pope, if they don't start showing out, and I think they understand that, Pope, Wiggins, all these guys, they got young guys coming up. Like you said, Keyshawn Smith, Michael Redding, Xavier Restrepo, Manny's going to play the best guy. That's how he's always been. That's been his mantra. He's not really about hurting anyone. He doesn't care about hurting anyone's feelings. He's going to play the best guy he's got, regardless of how young you are. So I do think these guys need to start stepping up, these 3 and 4 star guys we've had for the last 2-3 years, because there's a lot of studs coming up now and apparently their work ethics are above and beyond. So maybe it's a good thing is it'll finally push these guys that haven't really had to be pushed in the past. They've just been kind of given roles because, you're here, you're the sophomore, you're the junior, here you go, you're going to start. Now you got depth that these guys are going to come in, they're going to vie for positions. And, and Derek, I'm with you on, he commented about that, I'm wrong with the wideout position. I think the wideouts have talent. I think that we both agree on that. But I think it's kind of like, we just need to see it. That's the thing. But I definitely think Jeremiah Payton's going to be that guy.
Payton had a nice spring last season. I thought he was going to play more. A lot of people thought he was going to make a big impact as a freshman. Our offense didn't get on a roll at all the whole season. Let's be real. It was probably one of the worst in the nation. So
no, it was probably the worst in Power 5, maybe bottom 10. It was putrid.
It wasn't even fun to watch at all.
It's just weird because you go back and watch because there were snippets. That's the thing. And it was weird because you go back and watch the Louisville game. They're playing so much more 5 wide. It was different. And you saw what happened. They were able to put up they put up 60 points, I believe.
Yeah.
And, you get behind 28 points to Virginia Tech. What does it do? It forces you to spread yourself out and they're just picking at Bud Foster's defense, the guy that's been a stud defensive coordinator for 20 plus years. It was Danny that got in his own head, and the answer was right in front of him all the time. But he was so stubborn; he wanted to run his system that it made his demise because he was so stubborn and wanted to run the system that he wanted to run when the answer was in front of him the entire time. Dude, 5 wide, put him in the shotgun. That's it. Pick at these defenses all day. But and then you would see, like I said, snippets of it. He would do one drive where they would score. They'd go 5 wide the whole drive. And then the next drive, he gets an I formation and does a counter play for negative 3,000 yards. And then you're like, oh, he's back. Like, Daniels is back. Here we go. Dude, like, you just scored in 2 minutes. Like, what are you doing?
I know.
So,
it was rough. It was brutal. And before I get into my week defensive unit, Chug Mo Beer, thank you so much for the $25 donation, man. Hey, we got to get – I don't know if you live in Miami, if you live out of the state, we got to meet up, man. You've been supporting my channel for quite a while. Man, greatly appreciate your support. Please, if you're going to a game, let me know, man. I'm pretty cool with everyone, so let me know. Chug Mo Beer, bro. Thank you so much for all your support, man, all that you do, man. I can't thank you enough, and thank everyone who watches my videos enough, man. So thank you so much.
I like his handle, too.
Yeah.
I like his question also.
What was his question?
He says, if you do not run a 4-3-D, will it be harder to recruit top linebackers in the future?
You know, I mean, we were down the wire with Justin Flo, who was the best top-rated linebacker in the nation last season. So I think it's a matter of winning. And, you know, also getting players to the NFL carries a lot of weight, I think, as well.
I think, you know, you also look at the NFL, and I agree with you. We had a chance with Justin Flo. I mean, if we – I am a firm believer if we finished the season 8-4, and we probably were going to be ranked and going to the Orange Bowl, I think we had a chance at Justin Flo.
Really?
As ridiculous as it sounds, I do. I think those last 2 games losing to FIU was your death sentence. With Justin Flo, with Darnell Washington, with any of these guys, it was your death sentence. You don't lose to FIU. Pretty much at home. Your old home. Like the stomping grounds. Like that was I don't even want to talk about it anymore. It gets me so angry. But I don't think it's going to be hard to recruit top linebackers simply because the NFL is also becoming more of a hybrid league. They want players that are versatile. And I think Manny, what he's done with this striker position and the Viper position, he's allowed players to kind of become hybrid roles that, you know, when you translate that to the NFL, you know, they may like that because you're able to kind of – you play that hybrid role on your defense. Can move you around anywhere they want, kind of like what Romeo Finley had done for the last couple of years. I'm actually a big fan of Romeo Finley. I don't think he gets enough cred. But, you know, I think players see that. And if you're a top linebacker, you're going to be playing one of those Mike positions. You're going to be playing a middle linebacker. You're going to be playing an outside linebacker position. You're probably not going to be playing that striker position. Those are more for specific type of players like an Amari Carter, you know, someone that has that Keontra Smith. They've been saying that he may become a striker. Type of player that's maybe not so big to play the linebacker position, but allowed to play that hybrid role because they have that speed to come off the edge. It'd be more of like a pass rushing type of player. So no, I definitely don't think it's going to become harder to recruit.
And Kevin, I was curious why you didn't mention this position group. Now that we're talking about strikers, we're getting into the secondary. Man, I am so worried about our cornerback group.
Okay.
How slim it is and how there's literally take DJ Ivy out Blades. After that, there's so much limited experience. I know there's talent, Christian Williams to Corey Couch, but man, what are your thoughts on our cornerback group?
Let me tell you why I'm not worried. I'm not worried because of our defensive line.
Okay, that's a good point.
I don't think people understand our defensive line is going to be like ridiculous this year. I can't even put it into words. Let's look at the rotation. You got Greg Rousseau on one side. You got Quincy Roche, who is the defending AAC Defensive Player of the Year.
Oh, yeah.
That is your defensive end, first of all. Let's just start there. That's ridiculous. And then your defensive line depth has gotten so much better. And you got Netza Silvera, you got John Ford, and then you got all these studs from New York building your depth. They redshirted last year. You got what's his name? Jordan Miller. Jordan Miller stepped up last year, showed a lot of promise. You know, you have all the depth that's building behind that defensive tackle position. And then behind your defensive ends, you have guys like Jalen Phillips, who I don't think people understand when this guy is healthy, when he is being able to bulk up to his natural weight, he is a future NFL first-round draft pick. The guy has the speed. He has the ability. So that's just your three deep. At the end, you got Greg Rousseau, then you got Quincy Roche, and then you got Jalen Phillips rotating. That's ridiculous. And then you're starting to recruit guys like Chance Williams. You had Cameron Williams from last year. It's going to shore up a lot of that doubt like you have on the quarterback position, because I don't think quarterback's going to have a lot of time to throw. I really don't. And I like our cornerbacks. I think where the struggle could come in, Paul, is if we have injuries. Like you said, the depth is very, very limited. I do think your top line guys are good. DJ Ivey showed a lot of improvement last year after that Georgia Tech debacle where he wasn't covering the flyer on the punt and all this ridiculousness, and he got beat a couple times. He showed a lot of improvement in the last couple games. Al Blades, I think, is a future top 3 round draft pick. I do think he will kind of develop. He'll develop into that. Now I said top 3 round. I mean, we'll see. I do think he has that ability. I really liked the Corey Couch. I really do. He showed a lot of promise on special teams last year. He got some play at slot corner. And then you got, like you said, Christian Williams will be backing up DJ Ivey, Al Blades on the outside. Like you said, though, the depth is limited. God forbid Al Blades goes down.
Yeah, I mean,
God forbid both of them go down. I don't know what you're going to do because you don't really have that depth to kind of build off of. And it's something that I know Canes Nation goes back and forth about, especially on Twitter, about Mike Rump. It's a hot topic. It's should Mike Rump still be the cornerbacks coach? Should he still be here?
Right.
It's one of those things. I don't know how you feel about him.
And funny you mentioned that because Jason from Stadium Drive podcast, he was on my show last week, and he was like, hey, like someone I speak with, very credible with, said that Manny Diaz was going to get rid of Mike Rump.
Oh, really?
And but then once they told Manny Diaz, I don't know, maybe it was the AD or whoever above Manny Diaz board of trustees, if you get rid of Mike Rump, you need to get rid of Banda and Coach Packy.
Yeah, and he loves those boys. He's not gonna. Those are his boys. That's one of those things. And I mean, I like Mike Rump as a teacher. I think he's one of the best DB teachers out there. I really do. He's done a lot with not as much talent. You look at what he did with guys like, Michael Jackson. Even I know he's helped a little bit with the safeties. Converting red wine to safety as well, and all that stuff. So I mean, he's taught. He's done a lot with little. I mean, to be honest, I mean, he hasn't gotten the really prototypical cornerbacks that you would want to get. I mean, you look now, and he's got Al Blades. Maybe doesn't have a ton of size, but I go back and forth about Rump. His recruiting definitely needs to be elevated because there's way too much talent in South Florida to not be pulling top-notch talent at DB position. There's really no excuse for it. Right. But I'll be one of those guys to tell you it's going to come with winning. It's always going to come with winning. Recruiting will fall in line when you win 10 games. Absolutely. I mean, look at what Florida's been doing. Dan Mullen can't recruit a freaking Eskimo to an igloo because he really can't. He's not a good recruiter. But you know what? What they've done the last couple of years, I give them props. As much as I hate them, they've done well in a tough conference. They've gone to two New Year's Six bowl games. They've won both of them. The recruits come. That's just how it works. You win. Look at what happened after our 10-win season. We had a top 10 recruiting class. That's what happens. You're going to be able to get a lot more of that hometown love if you win games. And that's going to absolutely. That's what turns around recruiting. That's why what Manny did this year was so ridiculous. The fact that he was able to pull a top 15 recruiting class, that was absurd to me. It makes no sense.
And flipping Jalen Knighton was kind of the first sign, I'm like, wait,
After
maybe
the
he's on
FIU
to
game, I
something.
believe, too, which was
Yeah.
even more, it made no sense. It was like, did you just watch that game? I wouldn't go to Miami if I watched that
Yeah.
game.
Yeah. I don't know how we got Knighton. I'm glad he's here.
Of course.
I think of the world of him. I think he's going to be a star at the next level.
Yep.
I think it's going to be like Dalvin Cook effect that Florida State had, where Dalvin Cook just took over games and won them a lot of football games, especially in this offense, Jalen Knighton.
I truly hope so. I think, and that's the thing too. You're building running back depth. That's what's always nice. But I'm trying to read Sean's. I think Rump was limited because of Bandy. Also. No, I think we meant. I think Banda is what we were talking about. But I think you're building depth now at the running back position, which is nice too. And that's something that Miami's never had a problem with because you've had running backs for days. That's something you can always find in South Florida, regardless of the hype or the recruiting or the stars. You're always going to find running backs in South Florida. And now you're building depth. You got Cameron Davis, who I actually think is going to have a huge year. Then you got Don Chaney, and you got Jalen Knighton, or you could put Jalen Knighton and then Don Chaney, and you're just building that nice depth there for years to come. So that's good. That's good to see.
All right. So we spoke a little bit, about, coaches possibly getting fired, getting canned, getting retained. We're going into year 2 with Coach Manny Diaz, man. Last year, it was a circus. It was a shit show, basically. Let me finish first. Sean Rounds, thank you so much for the $5 donation. I greatly appreciate it, man. Another one who's always supporting the channel, man. Thank you so much, Sean. I can't do this without you, man. So greatly appreciate it, Sean, so much. But let me get back to it, Kevin, man. What going into year 2, man? I want to hear your thoughts. Is Manny Diaz, is he on the hot seat? If he's not, what gets him on the hot seat? How many wins does he have to survive? What's the feel? Because I know you've interviewed tons of people associated with the program.
Yep.
So I don't know, maybe you even have some insight. Just what's the vibe around Coach Manny Diaz going into year 2?
Well, our podcast actually had Alonzo Highsmith on when we were going through all that craziness with Blake James and thinking that they were going to get him to be the chief of staff. That was a pretty crazy time for our podcast. We were able to get him on at that exact same time that all that was going on. So that was pretty cool. Don't have any insight. I do think, and Kansas Nation's not going to want to hear this because I know that a lot of them are still have a sour taste in their mouth from last year. But I do think this whole coronavirus thing will give them a pass, regardless of how this year goes. And I mean, a lot of us won't like to hear that, but I think it's going to be true. And I think it's going to be true for a lot of college football coaches out there. I think a lot of them are going to pass with what's going on. Missing spring, conditioning probably being off. Everything is going to be a little different in the landscape of college football. I love Manny Diaz. I'm going to come out and say it. I will defend him till the sun comes up. And the reason why I say that is because Miami's always been lacking one thing. And I think it's someone that truly loves the university. They've been missing it for a long time. You had a guy like Schnellenberger who loved the university, loved everything about it. You got like Jimmy Johnson who still talks about UM to this day. You could tell he really loved to be here. You had guys like, and his personality kind of fits school, and that's what I always loved about Manny Diaz. He has that. As much as we hate to say it because he struggled last year, and everyone's like, I don't want to see the swagger, I don't want to see the boats, I don't want to see all of that, but you guys are all ridiculous because if he had won last year, you would have ate that stuff up. You would have loved it. You were like, Manny has a swagger. He's meant to be here. And it's one of those things where I think Manny has what it takes to succeed here. I think what it was is he didn't put himself in the right position to win last year. And with his hirings of Dan Enos, with trying to get Tate Martell, getting the wrong pieces in place, his hirings last year, retrospect, were really weak. Butch Berry wasn't the right guy for the job. He couldn't recruit worth a damn. You put yourself in the position of your assistants. You look at a guy like Dabo Sweeney. Dabo Sweeney was a receivers coach before he became a head coach. A lot of people thought Clemson was crazy when they hired him as a head coach. But you know what he did? He hired really good assistants to prop himself up. He hired a guy like, all right, remind me of his defensive coordinator's name.
Who the
Clemson.
Clemson's defensive coordinator is Brett Venables.
Brett Venables. How did a guy like Brett Venables, who won't even leave when he's had a head coaching job offered to him for like 5 years? He won't leave because he's that dedicated to the program. He's getting paid well. That was put himself in a position where he's hired good assistants to prop himself up. Manny needs to realize that, and I think he's starting to realize that with his hiring of Rhett Lashley. I think Manny is the right guy for the job. I just think he needs to put himself in a position to succeed, and I think this is a good start with getting Derek King, with getting a Lashley, with getting guys that fit what you want to do. Make an identity for yourself. I think he's finally starting to do that. And you asked me how many wins I think he needs. First of all, I don't think he's going to get fired this year anyways, because like I said about the coronavirus, but in a hypothetical world, say the coronavirus isn't happening, I think Manny Diaz needs to win at least 9 games for his job to not be in jeopardy. I think it'd be absolutely ridiculous to not win 9 games next year. The schedule is probably, if not weaker, just as weak as it was last year. You know, you have teams like Michigan State, like you said, is going through a complete change of staff. You got a team like FSU, still down, complete change of staff. You play your first 3 games against Temple,
Wagner,
UAB, whatever, and then UAB. That's 3-0 right there. If you don't start 4-0 because you lose at Michigan State, but worst case you start 3-1. Okay, the rest of the schedule sets up perfectly. You play UNC at home. It's probably your toughest game on the schedule, to be honest. You play UNC at home. You have that game at home. It's probably going to be a night game, hoping everything's going well for the season. It would be a night game because I think UNC is going to be a good team as well. Manny has no excuses this year. Sorry. Like I said, I don't think he's going to get fired regardless, but I will be on his back if he wins less than 9 games. There's no excuses. I think he should win 10 games, at least. There's no excuses. You have your quarterback now. You have your offensive coordinator to need to win. Your defense is still good. There's no excuses to not win at least 10 games.
And Kevin, I think you nailed it right on the head with that statement. I 100% agree. Before I get into my take on this subject, Mike Williams, man, thank you so much for the $20 donation. I greatly appreciate it. If you would have saw me probably a year and a half when I started this channel to where it is now, it's night and day, man. I couldn't do it without guys like Mike Williams, man, who's been with me for quite a while. So
that's
greatly
awesome. Appreciate
it, Mike, man. Thank you so much. So yeah, my opinion on Coach Manny Diaz going into year 2, man, like you said, hiring assistant coaches that believe in your system. What Saban has at Alabama with coming in and out with coaches.
Yep.
You don't see that at all in college football. Miami was doing that back in the day. We just had great assistant coaches. And offensively, I am 100% a believer in that offensive coaching staff. Besides Garen Justice, I love Rhett Lashley. I think he's going to kill it at Miami. I love Coach Fields, Coach Hickson, getting Jalen Knighton to come to Miami. Dude, tremendous job. And keeping Don Chaney, because Georgia was right there. Yep. Georgia was going to snag him away. To keep Don Chaney and reel in Jalen Knighton, dude, I mean, that's just completely impressive. Sean Rounds with another $5 donation. What do you think of Packy? I think we need to get rid of him. Hell yeah. No, absolutely. I was going to get into Coach Packy regarding the defense.
What does Packy do anymore?
That's the thing. That's the thing about Coach Diaz. I know he will be legit when the issues arrive on defense this upcoming season, regardless if we win 10 games, if we win 9 games or 8 games. On the defensive side of the ball, Coach Packy's resume does not line up with the University of Miami job. Okay, Coach Banda, I think he's done a fairly well job. I really do. Yeah. But does his resume, or can we hire people, other coaches in the college football world to replace them that want the Miami job? Yes, I do think so. And until Coach Manny Diaz gets rid of maybe Coach Packy, for example, not Banda, because we can get anyone at linebackers coach and just take over. Complete upgrade.
I agree, and I think that's something Manny Diaz is still lacking a little bit. I think he's kind of, and not to an extent of like to compare it to Al Golden, to where Al Golden just wouldn't get rid of turkey tits, what we call him, Mr. D'Onofrio. He would not get rid of his best friend. It was dumbfounding. It was points where you're watching a game and you see the linebackers are positioned like 8 yards off the ball. And you're like, it's like 3rd and 1, bro. Like, what are you doing? Like, it's like just clear stuff that just made no sense. And it was years and years of it. And luckily, I think he understands big positions and needs like that. He'll get rid of guys that just don't succeed, like Daninos. We were all worried, oh my God, is he going to give Daninos one more year? You know, that was a good sign that he just cut bait. He realized this isn't the right guy for me. I need to move on. Whereas other coaches in the past have kind of held on to guys too long and kind of dug their graves for them. And I'm glad Manny Diaz didn't do that, because if you hold on to Daninos one more year, he was digging his grave. That is bottom line. If Daninos was here next year, Manny Diaz is gone, because they don't get more than 7 games. And that was refreshing to see, because that was stuff coaches in the past weren't doing. So I think, you know, the final step in Manny Diaz's evolution as a coach is he needs to get rid of those, like you said, the dead weight, the friends that don't really do much. And you got Packy, who's like inside linebackers coach, and then special teams coach. First of all, you need to have a special teams coach that is only a special teams coach, because what I've seen the last couple years is an inept special teams that can't do anything right, that has lost us games, that the kickers have a mental like age of like 5. They miss a kick and then they're just gone for the rest of the year. We need to get a specific special teams coach in here to coach special teams, because that has lost us way too many games in the past. And so that's one thing, is I don't like that there's double dipping. You're the inside linebackers coach and you're a special teams coach. Be one or the other, and you shouldn't be an inside. Someone could just be the linebackers coach. I think he's like some special thing at linebacker. I don't know what he is, but it's pretty ridiculous. And you got another $5 there.
Sean Rounds coming in. Everything does come in 3. So Sean with 3 donations, man. Thank you so much. Greatly appreciate it. We have 3 co-defensive coordinators, and we need to really elevate the recruiting in the trenches, defensive tackle and offensive tackle and cornerbacks. What do you think about that, Kevin?
I agree on 2 of those. I think the defensive tackle position has been okay. I think it depends on what you're saying defensive tackle. Are you lumping it all as one defensive line? Because I think the defensive line in general has been recruited very well, at least the last couple of years. And you can even look at the defensive tackles we got last year in Harrison Hunt and Blissett. You know, those were guys that late in their recruitment were heavily recruited by teams like Penn State. Harrison Hunt was being recruited heavily at the end by Alabama. You know, these were guys that were wanted across the country. So I think we've built pretty good depth at defensive tackle, which is something that we've been lacking in the past. So I think it could get better. Sure, everything could get better. You know, especially in the state of Florida. You know, like you said, the trenches should be something we should never worry about, at least on the defensive side of the ball in the state. Offensive tackle, without a doubt. I think we started on a good foot this last recruiting class, though, getting Jalen Rivers. I honestly do think it's a guy that can just kind of step in and just play from the start. I wouldn't be surprised if he just takes over the starting role. I don't know if Zion Nelson's there. I don't know. I don't know if he's improved. I don't know. I'm really rooting for the kid to succeed, because it was criminal what they did to him last year. The kid came on campus as a 2-star recruit. We all thought he would never see the light of day to play. He was a commit from Appalachian State. And then all of a sudden, he gained 60 pounds. And all of a sudden, that means he's going to be a good offensive tackle. And the poor kid gets put up against some of the best defensive players in the country at Florida on a national stage. And the dude is getting embarrassed. Like, that was something I didn't like that the coaches did. Like, I don't even care if the talent's not there behind him. Put a guy that's more of a veteran there, like someone that, you know, at least looks like they know what they're doing. So yeah, definitely it's something we can do as far as depth. We should get more at that position. And I do think Garen Justice will help with that. Because Butch Berry, he was an NFL guy. You could tell he didn't love doing he wasn't a big recruiting guy. You can tell. Cornerback, something we've always struggled with. And again, it's back to the rump conversation. I wouldn't say struggle, actually. I'd say not live up to what Miami should be doing. You know, we do get these solid 4-star guys like Christian Williams. I mean, we could call Rump default default you because he just kind of gets guys that just falls in his lap in the last seconds of recruiting. It's just kind of like, oh,
Yeah.
Alabama dropped this guy, so here we'll take him because he's pretty good. And then he kind of like attaches himself to these guys, and we think like, oh well, our defensive backs haven't been terrible; they've been pretty good, but he hasn't really gone out and got anyone. They've kind of just all fallen in his lap. Al Blades Jr., he's a legacy. Of course, he was going to come here. Like it's just one of those things where like, he's failed at getting so many more guys than he's brought in. That's been a difference maker. And that's the problem that I think a lot of Canes fans see is he hasn't really done anything that's been a difference maker. Like you said with Hickson, bringing in guys like Knighton and Taney. That's a guy that's like you need to keep because obviously he's pretty good on the recruiting front. But Mike Rump hasn't – when's the time that we've been like, wow, great job, Mike Rump? Like never. We've never felt like that. And it's been just disappointment after disappointment. And you can say it was because we're not winning, but, did he bring in a bunch of stud recruits in 2017? I don't remember him bringing in any stud recruits. Al Blades was one of them. But, I mean, again, he's a legacy. So, I mean, we definitely have to step up our game for sure.
No, absolutely. I 100% agree, man. You Kevin, you're doing a great job, by the way, man. I don't know. I've interviewed probably 4 people. They've all done outstanding jobs, man. But you're doing one hell of a job so far, man.
Appreciate it.
It really is a pleasure to have you on, man.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm having fun.
I know for a fact the fans, everyone was watching, they're loving it too, man. So thank you so much again for joining.
No problem.
Now, Kevin, man, we just went over it, man. The schedule, it's so easy. I thought last year's schedule was easy. I couldn't get easier. This is even easier, dude. What team scares you? What games scare you? Looking at this schedule.
Yeah, I think one of your fans actually hit on it. I saw the comment pop up. I do think at Wake Forest will actually be a tough one. I really do. It's kind of like a sleeper game. It's one of those things. I don't really remember who we play before them, but I believe it's a big game before them. If someone can correct me, maybe I wouldn't believe that maybe it's the North Carolina game before them. So if that's the case, it's really one of those that you may overlook. Wake Forest has been solid the last couple of years. They've won 8 games last year, I believe. They had Newman, who obviously went to Georgia, but I like the guy that they had behind him. He should be pretty solid for him. It's one of games that scare me more are games that we may overlook. And that's always been Miami's MO in the past. It's just games that like you expect to win and then you just don't. And that's always been Miami's MO since the early 2000s. We've always dropped. I'll never forget that game. And I believe in 2004, we lost at North Carolina. They had won like 2 games or something. And I'm never going to forget that kicker's name. And his name was like Connor Barth. Kicked like a 42-yard field goal, beat us at the end of regulation. We were like the number 2 team in the nation. We had Devin Hester, all these studs. Yep. And it's just that's been Miami's MO for years since we were, had these stud teams in the early 2000s. So I really do think it's going to be either Wake Forest. I think North Carolina is obviously someone that you can't overlook. They're going to be a stud team this year. Sam Howell is a real deal. He is the best quarterback in the ACC behind Trevor Lawrence, without a doubt. I would even say he's better than De'Aaron King. The guy is a stud. He has studs on the wide receiver position. They have a proven coach in Mac Brown. He's recruiting really well. They had a top 15 class. It's one of those things where UNC is going to be tough. I will say we have the edge because we're at home. Like I said, I do think it's going to be a primetime game because I think both teams will have pretty solid records up to that point. So I wouldn't be surprised if it is a night game, either on like a Saturday night game. That'd be awesome. I hope it is because I'll be there. But I think you got to look at UNC, Wake Forest, and Virginia Tech. I think those are the 3 games that are going to define your season. Virginia Tech, you're going to play away. We always know Blacksburg is a tough place to play. Always tough to play in Lane Stadium. They have another good young quarterback. That Hendon Hooker guy is good. We know. We had no idea who he was until he tore us up at home. We were like, all right, this kid's here to play. So I think, those are the teams that are going to kind of define your season. I was worried about Michigan State at first, but I'm not worried much. I think, like you said, the turnover at coaching staff, I think it's going to be, they don't have the speed. If Lashley's offense is what we believe it is, they're not going to have the speed to be able to compete with us. So I do think, and I think we lucked out playing earlier in the year where it won't be really cold. So I think that'll be, should be an easy win, but who knows? But and actually, like what Sean said, I wouldn't sleep on FSU too. FSU is FSU, man. It's always. Oh, and thank you, Carlos. Wake is the Friday after Pitt. Okay, so that eases my mind a little bit because I do think Pitt at home will be a pretty easy win for us. We've always been able to handle Pitt pretty well. But like I said, like I was saying about FSU has had really crap teams the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And, with the exception of last year, I mean, the games have been close. I mean, you look at the 17 team, that team that was all world, we had to have a last ditch touchdown to Langham to win the game. And, I think that team won 5-6 games, FSU. So that game's always tough. I don't care if FSU's won one game. I don't care if they've won 2 games. I don't care if they've won 10 games. That game is always tough. And I will always say that's a tough game to win, regardless of how they are. And I think Norvell is going to be a good coach for them.
Hey, I think Wake Forest, I think the loss of Jamie Newman was a huge blow.
No, for sure.
I know for a fact teams the first half in Winston-Salem, for some reason, it's not a hostile environment. It looks like a minor league ballpark, literally. I really feel like Miami's going to win that game, take care of business, but it's a Friday night game. You could come out flat and Wake Forest takes the lead like they did against UNC. They were up by like 21, and then UNC second half did well, but they came up short UNC. It was kind of an upset at the time. But, yeah, so I'm not worried about Wake Forest per se, but I could see Miami falling out flat first half, but they're going to win. I'll tell you what about that UNC game. If UNC comes to Miami at home and it's a night game in a good crowd, sold out or just almost sold out, 90%, if Sam Howell can win that game his sophomore year, I'd be very surprised. I would shake every UNC fan's hand and say, hey, great job. To beat us at home at night, when was the last time Miami lost a home night game?
No, I mean, you're right. And that's why I said I feel confident. I feel confident in the game. I think it's going to be a tough game because I think UNC has good coaches and I think they're up and coming. I don't think that they're completely there yet. I think they're another year away. But I think, like you said, I think it's one of those things where at night, if it's a night game, I feel very, very confident that we pull it out. Because that means that the season's going well. And that means people are going to show up. And that means it's going to be a good crowd. So I feel pretty confident about it.
Absolutely. And Florida State, I think it's going to be an utter circus. Mike Norvell, I think what Willie Taggart had there, he had great athletes. But Miami, they cruised through Florida State. We won by, 18 at Tallahassee?
Yep.
We'll come home to Hard Rock. It's going to be sold out. It's going to be a very fired up Miami crowd.
We'll see, man. We'll see. They always scare me, man. They always scare me. Just think 2 years ago. Just think about 2 years ago. We were down 27-7.
Right. Yeah.
And that team sucked. That FSU team sucked.
Yeah.
So, you never know, man. It's a rivalry. I always say rivalries, you never know. The team literally could be – one could be 10-0, one could be 4-6. It doesn't matter. Either team could win.
Sean Rounds, my man, another $5 donation. Everything comes in 4. It's not 3. I was wrong about that. Will Manny be able to stop the speedy wide receiver and the short to intermediate routes our corners have not proved? Keep up and bad recovery speed.
I mean, I think you guys you're probably referencing like last year we've always struggled with the
Louisville we had a lot of trouble with.
Yeah, what was his name?
Tutu Atwell.
Yeah,
from Miami Northwestern. Yeah.
I mean, I think you're gonna see a lot better success with that, and let me tell you why. For years, we've had slow side to side linebacker play, because I don't think your speedy receiver is more the slot corner or a linebacker's going to pick that guy up half the time. So I think what a lot of times you're going to see is you've had guys that their side to side speed isn't very good. Shaq is slow. Pinckney's always been kind of slow. McLeod isn't much faster. But you got guys like that. Now that they're recruiting, you can see the type of guys Manny actually wants to get in here to play this defense. He's changing the perspective of his defense. He's seeing guys like Avery Huff, very fast side-to-side speed. He's slender, taller build. He's not as bulky. You got a guy like Sam Brooks. He's got the same kind of makeup. He's got a faster side-to-side speed. He's recruiting more to that base lately. You can tell he wants more athleticism on his defense. Because probably the fact that you're bringing up, Sean, is he's been beat for years and years and years for the last 3-4 years by all these small, speedy receivers because he doesn't have the athleticism on his defense to keep up with them. So I think he's trying to recruit to that now so that way he can start to slow down that speed with that side-to-side speed.
And I think, you know what? I think our defensive line, like we saw in 2017, man, we had a pretty solid defensive line. I think it will help our cornerback play, our secondary in general a lot. Our safety group is outstanding. I'm excited about that. Bubba Bolden, Gervin Hall, Amari Carter.
Yeah,
then plus Avante Williams.
Avante
Williams, best safety in the nation. I know. So I'm excited
I still don't understand how we got him, but I mean, whatever. I'll take it.
I know. We don't understand how we got Jalen Knight or Avante Williams, but hey, we got them, and they're Miami Hurricanes.
We'll take it, baby. That's right.
Let's do a quick I want to get into Q&A, have other couple questions for you as well that are good. In my opinion, what's your season prediction? I know we said Manny Diaz 9 wins or more. 9 wins gets him in the hot seat. Easy schedule. What's your season prediction, Kevin?
Man, I hate these season predictions because, like my heart says one thing and then like my brain's saying another thing. It's like they like kind of like fight against each other.
I'll tell you what, Kevin. What did your heart say last season before the season started? And I thought we were going to go 10-2, to be honest. I thought
I said 9-3. I said 9-3.
Okay. That's pretty good.
I think for last year I said 9-3. Obviously wrong. Probably a lot of us were wrong. But this year I feel a sense of confidence because of the maturity we have coming back. And when I say that, I say at quarterback position. With Derek King, it gives me a lot of sense of calm. It was always, we had all these expectations for guys that we thought were going to be good. Jaron, Tate, Nkosi, all these guys that we don't know. We're just putting blind faith in from stupid little tweets of videos of them at spring practice. And, oh, man, that's a good ball on 7-on-7 or whatever. But we hadn't seen them really do it in a game. You got a guy like Derek King's going to come on now, and he gives you a sense of calm. You feel confident in your pick for what you feel as the season is going to go. And I'm going to go 10-2. I do think there's still deficiencies there where you're going to drop a couple games somewhere. It could be at Virginia Tech. You could lose that Wake Forest game for all you know. Drop a game against Duke. It's always been Miami's MO. I think they're going to lose one of those games that are tougher. The Virginia Tech, North Carolina. Hell, I'll put Michigan State in there just because it's an away game against a decent Power 5 team. I think you're going to lose one of those. And then I think you're going to lose a game you're not expecting to lose. A Pitt game, a Duke game, a Wake Forest. One of those games are just going to sneak up on it. Georgia Tech, they're going to be a lot better this year, and we lost them last year at home. And that's an away game this year. And I hope that doesn't happen. But I'm going off of what has happened in the past. I need to see differences that change. I need to see things that change before I can finally believe they're not going to lose a game they're not supposed to. So until then, I'm going to say they're going to lose one random game that we're not all going to think they're going to lose.
Absolutely. So you're going to say 10-2. Yep. All right. I'm going to go with 9-3. That's been my prediction for a little while. Don't get me wrong. That's my heart says other things. I thought we were going to go 10-2 last season, but 9-3. I'm going to conservatively say it. Michigan State is their homecoming game. It's going to be Coach Tucker's probably first big game in East Lansing. They're probably going to be sold out. It's Miami homecoming game.
Man,
so that could be a tricky one.
I didn't know it was a homecoming game.
the past 15 years have been god awful at Miami. it's just the name. It's kind of like UCLA basketball. John Wooden. Okay. Yeah, they had their Final Four run. They have that burst of success with Russell Westbrook, Kevin Love, but it's not the same. UCLA basketball is not the same. Miami hasn't been the same for quite a while. So
we need to see it until we can finally believe that things are starting to change.
I'm going to say 9-3. Now, if we go 9-3, I think that's not a good sign because I think the talent is there. I think, like you said, defensive line is outstanding. Linebacker play is a question mark. Cornerback play is I don't trust them. I do not.
I think you need to win. I think you need to win the ACC Coastal. I don't really care what your record is.
Yeah. And I think 9-3 gets you in the ACC Coastal.
Yeah, I think that's always been our goal, and that's just you got to get the ACC championship game. And I mean, it's really just depressing to think that we've only been to one. Like it's the teams that we go up against every day. Like it's depressing, man. Like I think Duke's been to more. I think that they've been to 2 ACC championship games. I want to say maybe under Cutcliffe. I'm not sure, but I mean the fact that North Carolinas of the world and Virginia Techs of the world are running this division is just kind of depressing.
And Kevin, talking about it right now, man. We past 15 years, this was not the plan for the ACC to bring Miami. The plan was for Miami, Florida State to be playing in the ACC title game every year. Yep. That was the plan. Miami did not deliver on their end.
Yeah.
What's been going on, man? What's your perspective on this situation that has caused the downfall of Miami, and how can we fix it moving forward? Because it's got to end at some point.
I think it's a bigger issue. I don't think it's as simple as just putting it on one thing, and I think it's bigger because I think it's the board of trustees. I think it's the AD. I think it's the school. I think the school doesn't have as much interest in football anymore. It's the truth. They really don't. And you can tell that they don't. They don't really, and you can say all you want. You can love Manny Diaz because I love Manny Diaz, but I'll never support the fact that they didn't do a full coaching search. You are a perennial national champion. You've won 5 national championships. You had the lore of being the U. Why are you going out and just settling for the defensive coordinator? Like, you should be able to go out and get wherever you want, whenever you want, and don't tell me the money's not there. The money's there. University of Miami is very wealthy as a university. They have people that can pay the big bucks if they need to. They can go out and get any coach they want. So until I see that from the organization, from the administration, that's something the U is never going to be back until they're fully on board, until everyone wants football to be back to where it was. And I see a lot of lackadaisical mindset coming from the administration and not really caring about what happened. You got Blake James, like 2 days after an FIU loss, one of the worst loss in Miami history, tweeting like nonsense, like just tweeting something. Dude, you should be hiding. You shouldn't be wanting to go anywhere on Twitter because you should know what's going to be coming at you. And that's the thing is like there's no accountability anymore. There's no like this isn't right. This isn't the right way that you should be playing. People don't feel it anymore. They don't care. And that's why I like Manny Diaz because I know he cares. I know he loves this university. And, until the administration comes back to where they're really in that sense of mindset, maybe Manny can get us a place on his own, get us somewhere on his own because I know he loves the university. And it's one of those things where I think it's a bigger issue. You got guys, you're hiring guys like Randy Shannon. Randy should have never been a head coach. And he never got the resources. I think Randy never got the resources to be successful.
Right.
He never did. The college didn't put him in a right position to win. They didn't help him. Al Golden. Al Golden. Why are you hiring coaches from Temple? First of all, you are the Miami Hurricanes. That is who you are. Like, you don't see teams like Alabama, teams like Ohio State, or teams like that have that lore going out and getting. And yeah, Richard, I agree. Coach Shannon had no chance, but it goes back to the administration. That's what I'm saying. It's a lot of mismanagement on coaching hires, but at the same time, you're not helping those coaches succeed. I liked Al Golden to a sense. I thought Al Golden worked really hard for the university. I thought he wanted to succeed harder than any coach in the last 20 years here. I really do. And I think, he came off the whole suspensions and everything, the bowl takeaway from the sanctions, and he kind of got a terrible situation to start with. You finally got to get a guy like Mark Richt. And I love Mark Richt, but again, he's just a guy he was just here to have fun. Like, he's not here to, you're getting a guy that got fired for winning 10 games a year, not living up to what he was supposed to be living up to. And again, you get a stopgap. You get someone that's just not here to get Miami back to where Miami needs to get to. And, it's just until the administration makes changes in that aspect of their mindset on what they want the University of Miami to be again. But if you want it to be the U, then it's time to shell the money out and get the U to be the U again. And that's the problem. It's a bigger scheme of things. It's not just, I can't point to one thing and be, it's that coach, or it's also a mindset of every player that walks in here thinks that they're going to win because they have a U on their helmet. It's been like that since Larry Coker left, or even when Larry Coker was still here. Everyone thought, and it showed in this team this past year, hey, I just beat Louisville by 35 points at home. I just need to walk on that field because I'm the Miami Hurricanes. I'm going to beat FIU by 40 points. Yeah, guess what? FIU wants to kick you in the face and beat you on your old stomping grounds. And that's the thing, is it's just a whole overhaul needs to happen. The whole overhaul of the college athletics in general, baseball, everything, basketball, everything needs to change.
No, I think you made a ton of great points, Kevin. I honestly think when the Orange Bowl went down, I think Miami went down as well a little bit. I think that was a huge blow to the program, and transitioning to I'm trying to think of the name that we called Hard Rock Stadium, because we've changed it so many freaking times every year, to Landshark, to Sun Life Pro Player. I can keep going for days. Dolphin Stadium. Now we're at Hard Rock. Sun Life, shit, so many names. But yeah, man, it truly, it's been rough, hiring Larry Coker, the Randy Shannon hire. I feel like Miami has always missed their guy. I remember seeing an article saying Kirby Smart is interested in interviewing for the Miami job. Mario Cristobal interviewed for the Miami job multiple times. Even, if you guys even want to go there, Butch Davis, who kicked our ass this past season, he's wanted the Miami job more than anyone, it seems like. Ed Orgeron's always had interest.
Mike Leach wanted to come here. It's 100% known that Mike Leach wanted to be here. And I don't care what you say about Mike Leach not being able to recruit. If you brought that guy down here, he would win 10 games. I will put that down every day of the week. That guy with our athletes, you wouldn't need to recruit. You win 10, 11 games in Miami every year, you're going to have a top 10 class. That's just the way it's going to be. Kids are going to want to stay here because you're winning. You're in the home ground state. You're going to come. And that's just the way. I think you hit it on the head. It's coaching error after coaching error, hiring error. It's just, you got guys that are proven. Miami's not, and I think I love this tweet, or it was a journalist, someone said it. Miami should never be a place where someone has to learn how to be a head coach. Right. It's not an on-the-job training type of school. It's not a Temple. It's not a SMU. It's not any of these feeder schools that you're going to go to succeed, win 10 games, and then go to a Power 5 team. It's the University of freaking Miami. That's and if anything, it's so hard to win at Miami. People don't understand it because you're not a public school. You're a private school. You don't have your own on-campus facilities. You don't have a stadium. And I don't care what people say about it doesn't matter. We still play in Hard Rock. Hard Rock is awesome. I love Hard Rock. But there's something about having a stadium on campus that is just different. It's a different vibe. You have to have a certain coach that understands how to recruit, that understands how to get players here, that understands what it takes to win at Miami. And you can't just hire a guy because he won 10 games at Temple and then expect him to come to Miami and win. That's not how it works. Like it's a different animal here. It's a completely different animal.
Absolutely. And Kevin, all right. I like this question a lot. I like to hear everyone's opinion on this. If you were the AD at Miami and you got to make the decision, who's the next head coach at Miami? And just be realistic. Don't throw out an unrealistic name. Like Saban will never take the job here. Ed Orgeron's not coming to Miami anytime soon. Who would you hire as the next head coach at Miami to fix this problem of going 6-7, 7-5, 8-4?
This is gonna make your following go crazy, and I don't care. I don't care what you think about this, but
you're the AD. You got to pick.
I'm the AD. If I am the AD, I'm going out and getting Urban freaking Meyer.
Urban Meyer.
And you're telling me I don't care what you say about Urban saying that, like, oh my God, he doesn't want to coach anymore. He's gonna put us on probation, bro. Like, I'd rather go on probation for 3 years than watch another 6-6 or 7-6 year. If the dude gives me a national championship and 5 years of 11 wins, 12 wins, I'll take a couple years off, because if I have to go through this stuff again. And I mean, it's one of those things where you want proven. And I know people want Mario, and it's all over. I see it on the side here. I started looking at your live comments, and I like Mario too. But if you're telling me I'm the AD and I have complete control over what happens, Board of Trustees say, hey, go out and make your hire. You have unlimited money. We will make it happen for you. I will go. My first phone call will be to Urban Meyer. But that's the bottom line, because he knows how to win. And if you want the U to be back, that is the guy that's going to do it quickly. That gives you credibility. The moment Urban Meyer gets hired, every 5-star, 4-star recruit's head turns. Like, oh, crap. Urban Meyer's at Miami. Like, let's go. Who wants to go to Miami with me? Like, that is what happens. And Mario, yeah, he had one good year. He had one great year. He won the Rose Bowl and everything. And, I'm happy for him. I think, he's a team great. And, he coached on the coaching staffs in the past. But I want someone that's going to come in here and immediately create stability and immediately get us to a place we need to get to. And I still think Mario would take a year or two to get to that point. But you get a guy like Urban, he's going to bring in the best assistants possible around the entire country in a matter of 2 weeks. You know the amount of contacts that guy has? All he has to do is pick up his phone and he'll get the best DC here. He'll get the best OC here. They'll be here in a matter of 2 weeks. It's one of those things where I want a guy here that knows how to win. I want a guy here who's done it before at multiple schools. He's done it at Florida. He's done it at Ohio State.
Right.
And that would be my pick.
Urban Meyer. Okay, yeah.
I'm not saying he would come here, because that's the thing. I mean, I don't know if you want to come to a private school, but
he was all set on University of Southern California. I listened to Zach Smith's podcast, Menace to Society, here and there, and USC was his pick because his wife also liked USC because he's always dealing with retirement, coming back in. So happy wife, happy life, I guess. So USC was the priority school. I don't know if Miami will ever reach out to him, because
USC is a lot like Miami. They do things a lot like Miami. They have that type of their college landscape is a lot like Miami. It's in a big city. They don't have that college vibe that where you go everywhere else. If you're telling me he wants to go to USC, he would come to Miami. I mean, I just, if you shelled out the money, I think he'd be here. I mean, you're recruiting in the best recruiting base of the country. Can you imagine what he'd be able to do here? The recruiting classes he pulled in Ohio State.
Oh yeah,
and he was thousands of miles away. What do you think he would do when he's 20 miles away from Northwestern and 20 miles away from all these other places?
Oh no, I think he would kill it.
It would be a no contest. And I know a lot of people are saying, I'm reading your comments here because I'm curious what people's reactions are, because I thought it'd be interesting to say Urban Meyer. But people are saying Urban Meyer and stability, like that doesn't kind of go hand in hand. But you got to realize, those are the type of guys you need nowadays. Like, you need guys that are gonna kind of not challenge the system, but they do what it takes to win. And if you think that Nick Saban's clean, then I got a condo on the beach to sell you in Hialeah. If you think Dabo Sweeney's doing everything by the book, like, again, I got a condo on the beach to sell you in Hialeah. Like, I mean, you got to get someone in here that, and I saw one of your comments too. It says, I'm good with Manny, good vibes. I love Manny. First of all, like I was just saying, Paul gave me a chance to get whoever I wanted in the country. That's who I'm getting. I mean, that's bottom line.
No, yeah, absolutely. I think he would kill it. He's been recruiting South Florida, got the Boza twins, Trayvon Grimes. He's done a hell of a job. Hell of a
Urban
job.
would be a huge scandal. Yeah, but he'd bring you a national championship first.
One thing though, Kevin, and we might be late to the party, but I know, Mario Cristobal, I think he grew up in Westchester. Probably went to Arbetters growing up as a kid, went to Columbus Senior High School. Emotionally, he's a Miami guy. Manny Diaz went to Miami Country Day. It's a little bit out there in Miami Shores, but Mario Cristobal is a Miami guy.
No doubt.
If I was the AD, I would fly all of his ex-teammates or just alumni from the University of Miami, fly to Eugene, Oregon, and say, listen, man, you don't have a choice. You're getting on this airplane back to Coral Gables.
and I think Mario would do it. I mean, I do.
I think so too. I think emotionally,
the window
his wife will push for it too.
Yeah, who the hell wants to live in Eugene, Oregon? Although I've heard parts of Oregon are very pretty, but still, I mean, like, I think the window is closing on Mario though, because he's building something good out there, and as
he's building something, Kevin. But I'll tell you what, a lot of NFL teams love him.
No, I mean,
a lot of NFL teams love him.
No, for sure.
And they're on his radar. They were on his radar when he was at Alabama. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think if you wanted to get him, I think last year was the time to get him. I think
right.
After this year would have been the time to get him, because it was before he's going to sign his extension and all that stuff. And I think you could have been able to pluck him. Unfortunately, you can't really. I'm that type of guy that you can't give up on a coach after 1 year. You weren't going to fire Manny Diaz. As much as the pipe dream, we all loved it, being like, oh, we're going to just give the buyout to Manny Diaz and go get Mario Cristobal. It's just not realistic. So, I mean, maybe in the future. Maybe, but I'm hoping we won't have to. That's the thing. I'm hoping Manny Diaz works out. He's our new Dabo or something like that, and we don't have to find a new coach. That's what I've always wanted at Miami. I want a coach who's going to stay, because even you look at the past with coaches that came and won at Miami, they won and they left. I mean, Schnellenberger won and then he left for the new football league that came out. Jimmy Johnson won, he left for the NFL.
Everyone.
Dennis Erickson won, he left.
Even Butch Davis.
Butch Davis told everyone he wasn't going to leave, won and he left. Like, I mean, I want a guy that will stay here. And as much as I love Manny, even if he says, let's say he becomes the next Dabo Swinney, I don't think he's ever going to be an NFL type of guy. I don't see him ever leaving Miami. I think he would be a staple here for a long time if he were able to succeed.
And I'll throw you another bone with Mario Cristobal. Watch out what happens with what's this guy, Cliff Kingsbury with the Cardinals. That's all I'm going to say. If that position opens up, just watch out. Mario Cristobal will get an interview. That's all I'm going to say.
All right, then we'll take Cliff down here.
As OC. I mean, he loves Miami. He does like Miami. I
wouldn't be surprised if Rhett's a rental here, guys. Just letting you know.
Honestly, though, I like Joe Brady a lot. I want to see how his career goes in the NFL, man. But I would love to have him down in Miami as the head coach. I remember him on the what's that called? The press box at the national title game, and they had him. They were like. They didn't have the voiceover of what he was saying, but he was saying they can't effing stop it. They can't effing stop it. I just love that mentality, man. Step on their throat, no pulse at all. Well, if they're down, kill them. Literally,
he's the new prototype of
and he's from Broward County.
That's what college football is about. I mean, but we have this conversation, and we hope that we don't have to have this conversation. We all are rooting for Manny to succeed. I want Manny to be the guy. We all want Manny to be the guy. I think we all like Manny from a personal standpoint. I don't think anyone has a problem with Manny. It's one of those things where you want him to succeed because you like him. I don't want if Manny were to not succeed, it'd not be something that I'd be like happy about. Al Golden, it was one of those things. He doesn't have any ties to the program. He's not from here. He kind of was like a used car salesman. He left, whatever, moving on. Mark Richt, I felt a little bit sad about. I liked Mark Richt. He was one of those things where like you felt like he cared, and it was really sad to watch that 2018 season because you just saw him like his heart wasn't in it anymore. Like he just couldn't handle the all the criticism he was getting, and you could tell it just was weighing on him. And it was something that none of us were really enjoying watching because we liked him as a person. We liked him. He revitalized the program. He got us back to game day, got us back on national television. Beat down in Notre Dame was one of the best games I've ever watched in my life, live. And, if Manny were to not succeed, it'd not be something that I would be particularly happy about because I like Manny. I truly think he loves the program, and it's someone you want to be here. I want him to be here. I want him to be the head coach. And I want him to succeed.
All right, Kevin, let's wrap it up real quick. We got 10 minutes for a quick Q&A. Any questions you have, now is the time to throw them out there, and we will answer it. Let's do it real quick. Did you guys see the video of Van Dyke showing the turnover chain? He said it was another one coming. Yes, I did see that. I don't know what it's going to be. Honestly, I don't know what this was, the turnover rings. I don't know. So what are we going to get? Ear piercings, earrings now? I don't know.
I'm going to say, can we stop with this until we start winning?
I was cool with just that too. It looks bad. It looks really bad.
Or can we just stay with like one thing instead of having like all these like blings and then you're like putting them on like after a touchdown against Duke, you're losing by like 7 points. Like come on. Like I mean I'm a fan, so of course I'm gonna be like, hell yeah, it's cool. But like I kind of feel like, I mean I get it. It's for recruits, it's something that's gonna kind of like get everyone hyped. But it's just hard for me to kind of get into it anymore without winning games.
Absolutely. Andrew Prickett, we will see the difference. Manny is putting the right pieces in the place. I would be skeptical that the U could win again if Miami flops.
I like that. I like that statement. It's not really like a question, but I like that statement. I think this is, as much as we all love Miami, I love Miami. I want Miami to succeed so badly. I've been a Canes diehard since I was 5 years old going to the Orange Bowl. Miami's running out of time. I mean, not to be that person, but we are. I don't think we're irrelevant because I think the U is always going to be the U, but we are running on borrowed time here. We haven't done anything in 16 years. It's one of those things where other programs are starting to become the new U. Clemson's there now. Alabama's been there for the last 15 years. You're kind of falling behind and you're just kind of like, you're just surviving kind of purely on your history and your lore. But how long can that last? And how many coaching changes can you have? Like, these kids are starting to forget who you are. And you got to realize these new kids we're recruiting nowadays, it is crazy to think they're 18 years old. They haven't seen Miami win jack crap. They haven't won they haven't seen all they know is the U 30 for 30s and the all the old videos they can watch of Sean Taylor and Ray Lewis, and the longer you wait to get back, the more uphill climb you're gonna have. Because you're seeing it now. Teams are having no problems going and plucking kids from Florida anymore. It's like easy now. They're just plucking kids everywhere. Georgia is, Ohio State is, Clemson is. The longer you wait, the more uphill battle you're going to have to get back to that point.
Christopher Stevens. We have Mario, Joe Brady, and Coach Manny Diaz. Why can't we get at least one?
I don't really understand the question.
I think maybe why can't we just grab one in the future? I don't know.
I mean, like maybe we're not like opportunistic, I guess, to get. Yeah. I mean, it goes back to what I said, Chris, about like the administration. Just it's not there anymore. As much as we all wanted to crap on Paul D was the last AD to ever care about anything Miami Hurricanes football related. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. Paul D was a good AD. He cared about the University of Miami football team, and he tried his best to get them in the right position. And ever since then, we just kind of had puppets there. We've had guys that they want to bring money into the university, and that's fine. I'm all for that. I wasn't a student, but I still love the university. So I want them to succeed. But you need a guy there that wants to realize that, University of Miami's identity is with football. Like, that's it. I mean, and it's sad, though, because the school is an amazing school, but it just would be nice to get a guy in here that wants to get Miami back to where it was, where the football team was really like what drove the city, what drove the university, just everything.
Willis Telemac, do you have any information on 2021 recruiting this upcoming season? Look, I think it's the same story we've seen past with University of Miami recruiting classes. We're in the top 10. We're right in back of North Carolina. I think they're 5 and we're 6, or vice versa. So we're in it. We have a strong class. We got a lot of good players from Miami Palmetto Senior High School in the class as well, like Savion Collins, Jason Peterson, I believe is his name. Could be wrong on that. Cameron Kitchens out of Miami Northwestern, 4-star recruit, another good player. But we'll see what happens. It's about where you finish, not where you start. And Miami tends to start out very fast and slowly trends down as we get to signing day. So did you want to add anything, Kevin, to that as well?
Yeah, it's a little early. And I mean, unfortunately, the coronavirus stuff has kind of put a halt to any sort of recruiting going on. It's going to be huge just what happens this season on how our recruiting is going to go. You have a chance to land one of the best classes Miami's had in a long time, probably since Randy Shannon's #1 class. That Miami Palmetto, my alma mater, I don't know what happened, because when I was there, they sucked at football, but they got a bunch of studs on that team, and they have a real opportunity here in their backyard to get a lot of really quality recruits, and it's going to come down to what Manny and staff does this year on the football field. That's what it's going to come down to.
Absolutely. Manny has learned a lot of lessons from the 6th and 7th season. Has he learned enough to succeed with the Miami program this year? I hope so. I really do, man. Because if not, it's going to be another year of headaches, which is fine because there's plenty to talk about on our podcast, on my YouTube channel. It'll be great. More drama. I love it. But go ahead, Kevin.
I think he has. And I think you're seeing it already with what's happened this year. And I think he learned because he cut bait. He cut bait with coaches. He didn't give them a lot of time. And we talked about it earlier in the show. Miami coaches in the past would just just sit there and become their demise. I think he realized, I need to make a move now. These guys aren't good for my program. These guys aren't going to help me win. And you know what? He went out and got, in my opinion, a top 15 offensive coordinator in the country. And, it's one of those things. He went out and got a Heisman Trophy candidate in De'Aaron King. I mean, as much as you guys want to say it, he is. He has the 4th best odds for the Heisman next year. He is the Heisman Trophy candidate. So the fact that he's learned from his mistakes and realizing this isn't the early 2000s anymore, where you run a pro style offense. He realizes he got to get with the times. He's starting to, and I think it's important. As much as we all hated last season, I think last season was important for the evolution of Manny to realize it's not all about bravado, man. It's not all about your swag. It's all about you coming up on a boat and doing all these things. If you notice, he's really slowed down the twittering. He doesn't tweet all these crazy stuff anymore. I think he's all about business. And I think that's what he's more starting to realize. It's not all about the bravado.
Year 1 was a learning lesson for Coach Manny Diaz. He was humbled. I don't know if people realize, first week was against Dan Mullen, his former co-worker. It was a head coach.
Mac Brown.
Mac Brown fired him. Other co-worker, second coach. It was like the Manny Diaz tour of being humbled and learning from his mistakes. So, hey, I really hope he does. It seems like in the past when he got fired from Texas, that was a huge turnaround he made. So he doesn't learn from his mistakes, it seems like. And, hey, I really hope he gets the job done. As we all know, Ed Orgeron at Ole Miss was god-awful. Look what he does at LSU.
It can happen, man. It can happen. Coaches learn.
All right. We never won the ACC championship before. So with that said, if we go 8-4, disappoint the fan base, but go to the ACC championship game is a successful season. Would you say so for Manny Diaz? That's a pretty good question. I don't think it's a successful season because you're going 8-4 in the weakest division in Power 5 football.
No doubt.
Okay. So those 4 losses to who are you losing to? Bad football teams. Those are bad losses, and you're setting yourself up for a bad loss against Clemson. You're probably going to lose by 20 plus. Then the season goes 8-5. I think 9-3 or 10-2 is more appropriate.
I think you hit it on the head, Paul. Who are you losing the 4 games to? I think it's only excusable to lose. It's only excusable, in my opinion, to lose to either Michigan State, North Carolina, or Virginia Tech. Those are the only games that I could wrap my head around you losing. Every other game should be a win, in my opinion. And I'm obviously hoping that you win at least 2 of 3 of those North Carolina, Michigan State, and Virginia Tech games. So it's like, who else are you losing to? Are you losing to Duke again? Are you losing to Pitt? Are you losing to Georgia Tech? And in my opinion, that's just not acceptable in your second year. It's not.
Right. All right. I want to do one more question, and that's it.
All right.
One more question. So if you got it, great. But if not, we'll call it a wrap. Give it a few seconds.
One more question.
And ultimately, looking at these comments, 2 losses, will probably be bad losses. We should be the favorite. We have the most talent. Like, I want to see a good game from the other team. We're like,
you sound like a broken record, though, man. I know. That's what we've been saying for years. It's like, we shouldn't lose to any of these teams. We have all the talent in the world.
And Miami always, they shoot themselves in the foot. We lost to Georgia Tech. We beat ourselves against North Carolina. We kind of beat ourselves against Florida in a sense. We gave up 10 sacks. It was an ugly game in general. Just games like that. Louisiana Tech, FIU.
We have some questions here on the side. I don't know if they're just not popping up here.
Yes, DJ Ivy will start.
Yeah, DJ Ivy will start, brother, I believe.
Does JMU make the Coastal? I don't know. I don't know what that means. James Madison?
He's saying James Madison can replace Wake Forest.
Oh, that's a thing? That's a thing? Really?
Now we're getting into some weird stuff. I don't know what's going on.
Is that really a thing?
I don't know what you guys know.
Is that really a thing? James Madison coming to the ACC Coastal?
I don't think so. I've heard some rumors about UCF.
Oh, that would be bad. That would be really bad. Thaddeus Franklin, I think he's a lock. He said he's a lock. He only averaged 8 points in basketball in Broward County. There's no high school basketball in Broward County is fairly weak. So he got an offer to Penn State to play basketball there as a 2-sport athlete, which is, people think it's like a pool for that. So I think he's a lock to Miami. I don't think he can play Division I basketball either. All right, last question. Did Blake Baker show enough as defensive coordinator that he is the guy of the future? Go Canes.
I like Blake. I don't shoot me for this answer. I like Blake Baker. I do. I think I think last year was kind of an adjustment period for him. I think you got to realize he came from Louisiana Tech. He never really first Power 5 gig. I think Manny trusts him because I think he wants to run the same type of system that Manny wants to run. I think he's going to kind of become his type of protege. Yeah, he had some mistakes, the 4th and 17, everything like that. Why was everyone playing so off the ball? All this stuff. And it's one of those things where you hope he learns from. It's the same thing as Manny. Like, you hope that a lot of these things are going to become kind of lessons for him. And then we look 2 and 3 years down the line and we could think like, oh, wow, why did we feel that way about Blake Baker? He's turned into such a great coach. You got to realize, I think he's like in his mid-30s. He's a fairly young guy. It's one of those things where you just got to let the guy grow a little bit. He's still at a top 15 defense. It's not like he was getting, it's where he had a bottom 10 defense in the league or something like that. The guy will be okay.
Yeah, I think it's second year at Miami, top 15 total defense. That's fairly good, pretty impressive. I think at times people, against Louisville, I don't think our defense played well at all, for example. Yeah. So, let him grow second year. It's not like Manny Diaz's defense per se. So we'll see what happens moving forward. Watch out. Supposedly he was rumored to be interviewed by LSU. He was a candidate.
Yeah.
So
I don't think he's going anywhere.
yeah, we'll see. And plus, he's the Manny Diaz coaching tree. Coach Manny Diaz basically brought the guy into college football ranks.
Exactly.
Kevin, man, it was more than a pleasure to have you on, man. You did an amazing job. Thank you so much for coming on the show. You have the floor, man. Anything you want to say to everyone that is watching?
No, I mean, I appreciate it, man. I had so much fun. This was a blast. Really, have me on anytime you'd like.
Awesome.
And, anyone that wants to go listen to our podcast, we're the Canecast podcast. We're on Spotify, Apple Pod, everything like that. And also go follow me on Twitter if you guys have any, if any of you guys are on Twitter, at Smith31Kev, or you can just type in Canecast Kev. It should pop up. But yeah, guys, thank you so much. I had so much fun, Paul. Appreciate it.
Guys, thank you all for coming on. I greatly appreciate it. Please be safe. And just, man, many blessings to you and your family, guys. Go Canes.
Go Canes, guys.